I've been in touch with the Water Authority as we speak, like within the past week or so, trying to get a map to show me their jurisdiction. It's clearly everything in the valley, everything from Sunrise Mountain to Summerlin, from Inspirada to Aliante. All of that is definitely in their jurisdiction. That's where I'm running into questions, because I've got a buyer who's looking to purchase land on Kyle Canyon Road, which goes up to Mount Charleston, and we're trying to find where the cutoff is, because Sky Canyon, right where Kyle Canyon Road runs into Route 95, that's all part of their jurisdiction, which Kyle Canyon Road is right there. Well, how far up Kyle Canyon Road do you have to go before you're no longer in their jurisdiction? That's where I'm researching that right now, trying to get a good answer. But for example, Mount Charleston, the town of Mount Charleston, they get their water from up there. They're not part of what we're talking about. They all have septic tanks up there. They don't have a public sewer treatment system up there. Pahrump gets all their water. They're not even part of the Colorado River compact. So they get all their water from the Pahrump Valley, from wells over there, from their aquifer under Pahrump. It doesn't apply to them. Calico Basin, that's a good question, because that's just outside of Summerlin there. And now all of Summerlin and those new homes that they're building, by the Paseos, by Charleston and the 215, behind Red Rock Country Club, those are in the water district. Those are part of this. Now they're all in sewer already. The builders are building, but Calico Basin, those little towns and Blue Diamond's not part of, as far as I know, Blue Diamond's not part of the Water Authority's jurisdiction, because they're just far away enough. But you know what? 20, 30 years ago, where my house is up in Centennial Hills wasn't. Everybody in my neighborhood from back in the 60s and 70s has septic tanks and community wells, what's called a quasi-municipal well or a community well. That means there's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses all sharing one well. And for the most part, those have septic tanks as well.
And it's clear to me that the Water Authority wants to claim all the water.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they have good intentions, right?
They do. The Water Authority has very good intentions in trying to reclaim the water, but the problem is, my example of you've got grandma living in her ranch house up in 89131, up in the Centennial Hills area. She's been there for 30, 40, 50 years maybe. And the neighborhood's been built up around her, but her little cul-de-sac, she's got a septic tank, and her couple neighbors do. Well, her septic tank is 40 years old and it implodes on itself, or it's got some tree roots growing into it and they've destroyed it. Well, she contacts the Water Authority or the building department to get a permit to put in a new septic tank. No dice. They will not allow her to put in a septic tank in this example. Again, this is an extreme example, but it's happening. I'm working with buyers that are looking at land that are second guessing the purchase because it's going to cost them so much extra to connect to the sewer main. And in my example, this is happening where there's neighborhoods where it may be a couple 100 feet to the nearest sewer main, which doesn't sound like that far, but it can cost tens of thousands of dollars. So now, grandma in my example, instead of being able to just replace her septic tank and just keep her house, she may have to sell her house. Again, it's an extreme example, but it's happening. I'm seeing this. I'm working with people that are looking at homes that are at the back of the cul-de-sac of all houses on septic tanks, knowing if that septic tank goes out, it's going to be very, very, very expensive. It's a ticking time bomb.
Right. So
that's how people are looking at it.
What's the cost difference between just replacing or fixing a septic tank versus getting connected 100 feet away to the main sewer?
It depends on the cost difference between replacing a septic tank and connecting to the sewer. There's too many variables to give you just a quick answer. Because if it's depending on the size of the septic tank, of course they'd have to dig up the old one and clean it up and put in a new one and maybe modify the leach field, which is where the water leaches back into the ground once it's settled. And of course, how far away you are from the sewer main. There's houses on septic right now where the sewer's in the street in front of their house. So it's a wash. If they had to replace their septic tank, it would cost so many thousands of dollars. It would cost the same to connect to the sewer main in front of their house. So it's really a wash. Now, some of those septic tank people, they like having a septic tank because they don't pay a sewer bill. If you're on septic, you don't pay a sewer bill. Once you've tied into the sewer main, you pay a couple $100s a year, depending on whether or not you have a swimming pool. If you have a swimming pool, you pay a little bit more than if you don't. If it's a condo or townhouse, there's different layers or levels of sewer bill that you're paying. So for a lot of these, it's not a big deal to connect. You've got to trench, maybe you've got to cut up your driveway or something to trench to the nearest sewer main, but then they're able to reclaim the water. What we're concerned with are the properties where it's vacant land that's never been developed and somebody has to pay tens of thousands of dollars to connect to the sewer line. Well, that's going to prevent them from buying that land in the first place, or prevent them from building that house that they wanted to build on it, you know? And I've talked with other realtors, other brokers, that they've helped people buy property to build on, not knowing that this was coming. And now they've got the land, they've got the plans, they had the architect, the engineer, the permits, and they go to start building right now, this year, 2022, and they're told, you can't put in a septic tank anymore, or a well. You've got to connect to the nearest sewer main, and it's going to add tens of thousands of dollars to the cost to build that home. I mean, you can be as angry as you want, but it's not, you know, it's nobody's fault but the water authority, the health district, the government that's caused this without making any way for people to request a variance or combine forces with your neighbors in a special or limited improvement district is what it's called, to share the cost for the connecting to the sewer main. So it's a little, they jumped the gun on it, and now we're cleaning up the pieces. Yeah.